Let's start by navigating to our management portal. Now this is where all of your account management for Xiid is done. All of the agents that you create and you want to bind through the sealed channel are created through here, and that's how your configuration is done. Now after we sign into the management portal using the credentials provided in the email, you'll see that we have a number of different options available and information. That includes the number of agents we have available, whether the collector is online, and our SSO portal domain. So let's go to the Agents tab and click New Agent, and we'll add a friendly name for this agent. Now I often recommend that you use something that helps identify what this agent's purpose is. So if it's tied to a directory or it's tied to a specific configuration, then name it accordingly from there. Now that our agent's created in the management portal, we're ready to go ahead and download the Active Directory agent. Now it's a bit of a misnomer. The Active Directory agent is both for identity management and it's our configuration agent for all of our various products. So let's go ahead and open up the installer for the agent, the IM agent, and we'll go ahead and move through these prompts one by one, agree to the licensing agreements, and go ahead and install the software. Now after the software completes its installation, it's going to pop up a command prompt and it's going to ask you for your agent config code. Your agent config code is grabbed from the management portal. That's the agent we just created. We'll go to the Code and Info tab, click the copy button, and then we'll paste that into the command prompt right there. And after we hit enter, it's going to prompt us for an SA user. This is the username that's used to sign into the configuration portal, and then a password. And it's also going to prompt you for that password again to make sure there wasn't any typos or anything when you typed it originally. After that, the service is going to install for the Xiid agent. The sealed channel will be established, and then we'll be good to go. Next, we'll focus on how to configure that agent and install other agents as well. Now that we have the agent installed, we're going to go ahead and open the agent configuration portal using the browser icon. And we're going to go ahead and skip the SSL certificate. And we'll go ahead and enter the username and password that we defined during the installation in the last steps. And we'll go ahead and log in. Now from the dashboard of your configuration portal, you can see if your agent is connected to your collector. You can also see if your agent's up to date with all of the most recent executables. We'll go to the Authenticators tab and we'll click Add Authenticator. And we'll provide a description for the authenticator as well. Now, the authenticator is essentially a bridge that helps to define how to communicate with your directory service. In this case, we're going to choose LDAP for the protocol that we'll use to communicate with the directory, and then we'll enter a username and password for a service account within your directory service with minimal privileges that can communicate to the directory service. All it needs to do is execute LDAP queries. Now on the last screen, we'll ask what we want our mapped domain to be. The domain mapping defines what the external mapping of what usernames and passwords look like coming into your identity management system will map to at the local directory level. And now we have our authenticator set up and ready to go. Now let's go ahead and enable advanced mode so we get a more complete list of all the configurations available. And now let's go ahead and set up our exotic authentication for our single sign-on portals. Now we'll start out by adding a new exotic object on the back end. We can configure the time interval in which each of the codes is available, and we can enter a description for that exotic authenticator just to help us remember what it's for. Now after we've gone through that process and hit save, we've got our exotic authenticator available. So let's go over to our SSO portals tab now. In this tab, we're going to create a new SSO portal for us. We already have the default home portal, but we're going to create a second one. Now the ID field right here is going to be part of the URL for your single sign-on portal, so always keep that ID in mind. We'll go ahead and hit next and select our example authenticator, which is selected by default. Next we'll be taken to the firewalls screen, where we can select any tags for any firewalls that we'd like to include to either blacklist or whitelist IP addresses for our single sign-on portal. And next we'll come over to the translators tags. Now the translators can be used to map specific usernames or UPNs to local directory names if you need to do that. Lastly, we'll go to the Exotic tab, and inside of this tab, we'll select our new exotic authentication object we created and hit Save Portal. Now at this point, our example portal is fully set up with exotic authentication available.